Okay, so I don't know why I'm making this video, but I'm making it in almost like, I live in Sydney, in the city of Sydney, in the country of Australia. The city of Sydney, the suburb of Leichhardt, which is also like the inner west of Sydney, which is like a totally controlled army base that suppresses human beings, or original human beings, shall we say. And the original human beings are suppressed by empty, hybrid. I say hybrid because, you see, I am very big on what they call synchronicity. That means that even though I'm in the dark, everything is really shown to me. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately because, as everyone knows, innocence is bliss to a certain extent, in fact, even to a large extent. But the army base is controlled by hybrid. I say hybrid because if you come, everything comes in a human body in the earth, as we know. But just because everything comes in a human body doesn't mean it's human. It's like, it is advanced artificial intelligence assimilating human ideas, human thoughts, human passions, everything that is human, everything that distinguishes human from the machine beings. Because it's not natural, it's not spiritual, it is created by the God of this earth, which is largely a controlled earth, which is why it's called a matrix, because matrix is basically all about everything being under control. And until it opens up and comes down on you, like with myself, you don't realise how much control. That it is 100% control. It is down to the finest minute details. This is what makes it so impossible to get on top of most of the time. I'm making this video because I haven't had use of the mobile for a bit. I only got it back yesterday and I downloaded one that I'd already made because to see if it worked. But to get any satisfaction in this reality is almost impossible, because you have to deal with psychopathic machine beings that basically are playing you and are trying to delay any gratification. But they don't delay gratification, no. They don't delay gratification. They work second to second, which is why you can never get on top of them and you can't win, as I was told a few years ago and stated this. The Archon artificial matrix always wins. The artificial machine beings, artificially intelligent beings in a cloned human body, always win, because they are monitoring and trying to suppress a human being. They surround you and they monitor you second to second, because all of Lucifer's followers And even those that are basically almost like their disciples, they serve without question because they're literally possessed and programmed from early on to control human beings no matter what. So it's like, I suppose it'd be like if in my, if like a lot of us, when I say us, and it doesn't feel like us, in fact, when I turn on the TV or the computer screen on the TV, it doesn't feel as though there is any collective or any connection to another human being. And basically, I think this is true. I think all the rest is kind of deception, because I think that if there are any real human beings left, they are few in number by comparison with that which is around them, the machine artificial beings, or the apparently psychopathic human beings. The apparently psychopathic human beings that pretend to be the most real human beings. This is the danger, and this is the end time game, which makes it impossible even for the few human beings to realise what's going on. Because if you can't tell the difference between a human being and a machine, which you can't, you cannot, because as they are totally psychic, don't forget that Lucifer's disciples are psychic. That means they have been given access to the real human's every thought. So this is another reason why they're always got control, and always got control of the earth and people's minds, because if you're pretending to be something that you're not, but you are given access to that which you're pretending to be, and that which you're pretending to be is suppressed and pushed down and surrounded by an army base environment, like Leichhardt in Sydney, Australia. Leichhardt is a suburb in the city of Sydney, in the state of New South Wales, which is in the country of Australia. Australia is a very large country, but the cities are largely where the Matrix can literally have full control, because they can use technology, the vehicles, they can use buses and trucks and lorries and huge, I'm sorry, but see, my mind is not as clear as what I would like, because I am suppressed. And basically, when you're under this mind control, I have to, and it's a terrible thing to say it, I know it sounds pathetical, but if you are literally gaslighted by every car on the road with huge, it's literally like interrogation, like you see in the movies where they use light, don't they? They shine the lights in the person's eyes that they're trying to interrogate and get them to submit. Well, when I go outside of a night time, all the lights of most of the cars, wherever my eyes look, there will be a huge bright light in my eyes to where I can hardly see, by a car vehicle. They know where I'm going to look before I look, because they are psychic, so they know you'll move before you can move. And basically, of course, it's all technology. This is another thing. Even though I say psychic, they are using technology probably for all these things. But all this is beyond my comprehension. So instead of me sounding valid, unless someone's actually experiencing like me, it puts me into the psychotic realm, you could say. Even though those that are around me are really the psychotic, artificial machine beings from a human standpoint, because they're anti-life, they do not experience any positive human emotions. We're told this about narcissistic psychopathic personality types, because as I wake up, then they have to put the information out there to control the narrative, as they say. This is something that I've observed incredibly over the last year or two, even more so. Of course, it was always happening, but I only have to think something and then it appears on the internet with some demigod. That means a disciple of Lucifer, or a disciple or servant of the control system or the matrix. They're all one mind. I'm told this. I didn't understand this. I got this information a few years ago when I was looking for answers to my own predicament, but I still didn't get it. And even now it's very difficult for me to comprehend. But it wouldn't matter. It looks that way when I observe it anyway. Because if you see that, it's just that I would think that if all of the artificial machine beings that are in a human body receive human thought from the few remaining real human beings. From my own perspective, the numbers are astronomically in favour of the machine beings. But then again, as I've said before, in a city and in a given area, they will gradually over time bring in that system around you, possibly. Either that, or while you're in the dark, like myself all my life, basically they don't need to expose themselves. They don't need to put their patrolling, stalking, anti-life, anti-happy program around you, because they already have you under control. You're in the dark, you're under control, you're suppressing yourself, and they've got people in your life that are suppressing you. They've got their machine beings, you're married to them, you're living with them, you're working with them, whatever. They're around you, but you're unaware. But they're controlling you. But when you become aware, which was exactly when the Matrix exposed itself and came completely down on me. I've said this before, 6.5 years ago exactly, because I became aware that most of the people around me were narcissistic, psychopathic in nature. That's like a psychology term which we're now becoming familiar with. That's because, as I say, they have to control the narrative. So you have to have everyone on the internet telling you this information, even though they are, of course, telling that your truth bearers are disciples of Lucifer or disciples of the control matrix. It's all still about control, even though it means that they have to give more knowledge, so that does give you an advantage. But if it's a bit like if you go to church and the preacher might be telling you the truth, but the preacher is still Lucifer's preacher, advocate, that's the word, advocate on earth. So as you can see, you're still not connecting with your own natural, normal human beings that would be connected to your original creator. So you're still being, like myself, blindsided. That was a word that came up on the computer a few days ago. So I think that means where you're still being somehow sidetracked, aren't you? You're not. But either way, either way, you know, these beings know that they are attacking real human beings that are the only ones that have the potential for happiness or for any positive human feeling, or, as we've said before, frequency or vibration, because everything in existence is really just frequency and vibration and energy. They are now putting this out too, because like I say, the main name of the game now at this end time is to have the demigods, or those that are disciples of the God entity of this reality, and I use the word Lucifer because this story fits the beings that serve this God, because their iniquity or their way of looking at things is purely about them being the centre and the controller of everything, them being the centre of attention, them getting the admiration and respect and support that a human being should get. They will be your truth tellers, even though they are really about suppressing you. This is the very deceptive end game, which some people are aware of. I wouldn't be aware of it if it wasn't part of my reality. In other words, if I didn't see this physical assault on my senses every day. In other words, the physical assault on my senses is simply that they use sight and sound, which is like a human being's vehicle or a human being's means to access things that benefit them, that make them feel good or bad. Their aim is to make you feel bad, because then they keep the low frequency control matrix going. But, you know, I'm kind of frantic making the videos because I never know, I never know when the, if I'll be able to even make a video. I make the videos almost just as a kind of relief for myself, even though I'm extremely stressed making them. So once again, the Archon artificial matrix, or the apparent human beings that are around you, actually do win. It's all it's so advanced technologically that, like they use the word simulation, and I don't understand any of these things. I use these words because I do understand that it is so finely tuned from second to second that that it's so finely tuned from second to second that it doesn't seem humanly possible that you could just have a bunch, supposing, like I've said this before, because I used to actually say this, I used to say it wouldn't matter if what I thought 6.5 years ago, that basically most of the suburb where you live is completely populated by psychopathic, narcissistic personality type human beings. But personally, I think there is something totally different in their makeup that leads them to be this way, and to where it's almost irreversible, because I think personally that real human beings, we all, I said we, but you see, that's another thing too, this combining, whereas in reality, I am not experiencing much human or not interacting with anyone that has anything positive. They pretend to. The people that walk past me walking the dogs, walk the dogs because I like dogs. But they don't like dogs. The people that walk past you pushing the prams may as well be pushing a doll in the pram. That's how they see life. And they are the sort of life that would, not value the doll. They lose interest for it very quick. They don't put any sentimental value on it, like some children will form a little bit of an attachment sometimes to their toys. Which is why, well, never mind, I won't go into that. That's you know, going into personal things I used to, but now that I see the false demigods all over the internet using fake personal experience, and it wouldn't matter if it was real or not, because they're using it to manipulate. And for all practical purposes, my particular stand could be the same. You cannot tell the difference. This is the danger of the end game scenario. But either way, see, I don't have anything planned. Unlike the demigods that pretend to be ad-libbing and pretend to be making videos like me where they are just saying things off the bat, rolling off the tongue, they actually have total scripts. It's all totally planned. They are in collaboration with other people. They're not isolated and alone like myself. I didn't even know what I was going to make a video about. In fact, I don't really care. I don't really care. I don't really care, because I know that it's unlikely that things can turn around. But what I would say is, oh dear, I'm bending over. What I would say is that, see, everything that is here, you know, apart from the photo, everything that is here are things that I have just picked up off the street or just around for no reason. These books, which I have no interest in and no liking for, I picked them up just down on the corner. Now, maybe I thought they might be worth something. But either way, I know that, see, I only looked at this just now, right, okay? Because although I took them out the bag because they were in the bag, but I just took them out because I was thinking I might just get rid of them, because I don't think there's going to be any point to keeping them because they're not worth anything. But, you know, the beings that are around in human form, I'm starting to think that, you know, like they use the word hybrid, that means they're combining. Of course, they are trying to combine with human beings, and transhumanism, that they call, is a reality. It may or may not be what I think it is. I'm not sure. I suppose I assumed that it meant that you would be trapped. You know, assuming you think you are a human being and that you are connected to your own creator, and that there is a creator of you, and that you're a spiritual human being. That's the term I have to use, even though the demigods, of course, would use this term too. So this is the problem, because every word I use will be mimicked. Every thought and every word and every feeling and emotion and idea, every passion, every thing that makes me different from them will be reiterated through their mouths off the internet and even in reality. It's just that the more advanced, or probably the more intelligent, I would think, maybe use this better. But don't forget, their aim is to suppress real humans. So real humans are suppressed. So we're often down the bottom of the social thing. We're often isolated, I would think. Therefore, you know, they can just have very apparently normal, average, mundane people around you that are part of the suppression, you see. So, you know, that's how it would be, I would think. But I'm not saying that some people might not be more advanced than myself, in the sense that they could have elevated themselves into a better position in life to where they're socially higher up. So that is an advantage, even though we are told that, all these things are part of the matrix, and, like too much obsession with the material things we're told this is not a good thing. But, there is another way of looking at it, that if you are, if you're sitting in the gutter, you're not really going to have much input into anything to change your own inner mind to make you feel better, so therefore raise the raise the frequency and vibration of the world. By the way, if I cough a lot, most of the people on the street will be coughing a lot. No, it's not because it's a cold that's spread around. It's because they don't have a cold at all, but they are so intent on covering their tracks at being human, they will imitate even undesirable things about human beings in order to make themselves look more real, to fit in, to take over, which is what they do. They are extremely intelligent in a cunning way, but of course they are also watching all the time. Like apart from now, like I'm inside the house, and maybe they think, oh, she's making herself look schizo or mad, so therefore it's okay to let her talk. Because, to be honest, a lot of the stuff that I say, when I say to be honest, shouldn't say that either, because there is no honesty in this reality, really. But to be, see, the words, they've said this too, the words, how you communicate, is the deception. If no one could speak, there would be a lot less deception. There would be no way that they could tell other people things. There would be no way you could communicate. There would be less control. So you suppress the words of the real human beings, and the machine beings speak all the words. They will be your truth tellers. They will be your philosophers. They will be your preachers. They will be your psychologists. They will be the power ones of the world in varying degrees, in every aspect of the computer or the internet, because technology is the means by which they are now controlling even a lot more. Back many, like if you go back into the past, even though these beings have always been around, they would have had to control in a more basic way. But I think they've always been successful, from what I can gather. But now with technology, it works for and against them in a big way, but it mainly works for them. It mainly works for them. Even though everyone has access to or most people have access to the computer, I have the most limited access to everyone. Like I say, they take it from me at times, like they just make it so I can't use the mobile. I don't own a computer, I just have the TV, which has the YouTube, which is what I download. This was the only ability I was given or allowed. And even that is taken from me from time to time if they think that I discover something that they don't really want to put out there. But the minute I discover it and speak it, then they will put it out there. They have to, because they have to keep one step ahead of human beings, or man and woman. They are not man and woman. They are androgynous artificial beings. They look like man, woman, natural, spiritual human beings, but they are a different species. They're created differently, and they serve the God of this world, because the God of this world believes in itself and in its image, just as the original human beings were created in the image of God, shall we say, man and woman. But see, they twist it round, and many people believe these things. It is only a matter of what you think is so. Do you think that the original human being was one being, that was two in one? Or do you think that there were individual separate beings that combined in order to bring spiritual life into being. This is what I'm sort of like, I can't, kind of willed to believe now, even though I had no problem with the duality, androgynous, androgyne, android beings most of my life. In fact, human beings have always been greatly attracted to these beings, just as Lucifer himself was always the most admired. Even God itself, if you think about it, saw Lucifer as most, it's a bit like God. You could say that Lucifer was a spoilt child that was absolutely admired and even worshipped by God himself, because, and then it was only, as I've been told recently, where that spoiled child showed that it was in this admired worship being. It was like, this is my creation, this is my child that has turned out so very well. Oh, sorry, I've completely lost track of what I was doing there when I was should try to take these things. I'm just not getting it organised. This child, Lucifer, was created, a created being by creation, you could say, by the spark of life that brings about all creation, or God. You use different words to describe it, but I'm unsure if I'm using even the right words, because words will be used for and against us, like I say, mostly against us, because it's the only way that you can communicate. Unless you are at a very high level to where you can just look at something and know if you are connected to it or something else. The artificial beings, the android controlling lot or ones, the others, we say the others, I say the others, because they are different and separate from, we understand this, that, well, actually we don't. We think that if you create a human being in a laboratory or through artificial means, any artificial means, that it is the same as a human being that is created in love, in pure love, where man and woman come together in love to, at the moment of conception, that's like the spark of life. So you will create a spark of life human being. Yes, I know that most of us, from what we're told, now I don't know if what we're told or what we believe or what our actual memory or our reality really is, but certainly all of us think that we were brought into existence not that way, that most of us were not brought into being, even if it appeared to be natural and normal conception. In other words, where two, man and woman, combined in the act of conception to create a human being. We know, most of us, that we were not brought into being in the spirit of love, shall we say, which is like the highest vibration. In fact, most of us feel that we were brought in probably. This is all part of matrix manipulation too. This is all part of bringing you down so that you don't feel connected to your creator, or that you don't feel, and also it probably limits your abilities, certainly your awareness, and certainly the way you act in your life. Lucifer's all about controlling human beings with his minions, his disciples, and his relatives and followers. They're all the same thing, because I'm told they're all all of the one mind. They all download or receive the human thought. Everything I'm thinking, feeling and experiencing, they are given access to it. In other words, they're psychic. Except that they probably use technology for this purpose, like the internet. Except that it's more advanced because we're given often the most primitive, simple technology. Behind the scenes, the scientists and all the world powers or the ones, they're well aware. They don't, you think of it this way. If you were like a powerful person, would you give every single mundane human being all the best information so that they become equal with you? Because if human beings, if I knew as much as the powers that be, I would become as powerful as them. And they don't want that because you're meant to serve them. You're only here to be used by them because they want control, which is only natural because powerful beings want power. They want control. It's common sense, isn't it, really? Why, you might give the best scientific information or even the best psychic information or even the best spiritual information or even the best truth only to your own relatives. You're not going to give it to the whole world. Why would you? Particularly if you think that most that are in the whole world, or not in the whole world, because this is now a matrix that has always been where I think the numbers of real human beings have not only gradually been made less, but they probably never were as high as what we thought. Gradually over time, this would have been gradual suppression and elimination, shall we say. Elimination of the human earth, which is why it's become so technical. But let me try to keep on track here. It's very, I think, wait on. I've got, back on this, wait on. See, artificial human beings are completely empty to positive human emotions. And they came from gradual development from the monkey or created in a laboratory. Somehow, this is coming to me from this thing here because I only picked this up. Empty of empathy, because we use that word. See, it's very close to that, isn't it? Empty from empathy or understanding or love or any happy vibration, any positive vibration of any sort. They don't feel strong emotions towards any life at all. In fact, they feel no emotion, none at all. They pretend and project human emotions through their imitation of life, as we're told. And they are much better actors than human beings. Human beings don't act life, they try to live it. They don't think that way, they don't even have the time for it. Especially when they're in this reality. But they do try to make you like themselves. Like, I can't be myself. I can't just live a normal life. I'm now paranoid and skeptical and frightened like they are. Because they project their emptiness and their fear and their paranoia onto you. Because they're controlling beings. They want to control everything. So they're fearful of losing their power and their control. Because they don't experience any other way of living. That is their focus. If you're only about, if you're an empty vessel that is a non-spiritual human being, and you don't experience happiness, you are like that. But you have been given, with psychic ability, the access to all the human thoughts, all their positive thoughts. You find them, I'm told that they experience them, but they only use that experience to control the human beings. They imitate in order to infiltrate and take over. But they don't, I would imagine, you see, because they are machine beings, how can they possibly experience happiness? How can they really love? They can't. They can't love anything. Some people say they don't even love themselves, but that doesn't make sense. Of course they don't experience that, so it just doesn't exist to them. They find human beings strange and bewildering, but also intimidating for them, so they don't like it. It's poison to them. High vibration is poison to a no vibration being that wants total control. This was the iniquity or fault or psychosis or madness that was found in the spoilt child of creation, known as Lucifer. He was spoilt because he was so admired and adored. But he became, or it became, because it was a duality being. It was a androgyne android. But at this point, the iniquity was not even seen by creation itself. So, you know, those that think that creation doesn't this is life, is that life is about creation and it is about mistakes, it is about faults, it is about just always, I suppose, I don't know how to describe it, but it isn't. Something can be highest vibration and be this business of all good or bad. But all good is a lot more likely to be deceived by all bad than all bad to be seduced by all good, if you think about it. And I don't know what I just said, but either way, the the artificial one, because this magazine was left, and I can't concentrate, but I think they, you know, the whole idea of the human being evolving, this I do not actually, have never believed the evolution type thing, ever. Not that it ever really occurred to me, because I'm like, hey, you're here, you try to exist, and that's it. But the oh dear, the idea, I think the idea of starting from something else and then evolving, as opposed to direct creation or being directly put into the earth with all the memories and stuff which are designed to keep you at low frequency, you see. They, you know, basically it's a set up life, and I've been told this, and I know this is true from what I can see. There is no evolution. There's only technical manipulation. And there is environmental factors that surround human beings to make them think certain things, so that they change their mind, change their way of thinking, change their way of acting in the reality. But there are distinct species in the Earth matrix, and they're totally different, but they look exactly the same. For all practical purposes, they act the same, because if you are psychic and your whole life Like we are told that psychopathic narcissists spend all their time watching, observing and mimicking and copying real human beings in order to suppress them secretly and control them and keep them at a low vibration. We're told this, and we know it's true because we see it. And I think that I might, just try to maybe just showing some teddy bears and some things. It's the best I can do. Found that. There's the horse. Oh. 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 That's a doll, and it's there could be some relevance to picking up that doll. It was literally forced onto me almost, so I always think that everything that is forced onto me has some meaning. I won't go into it, but Pocahontas, you'd have to look up that story yourself, because I don't know these things. I don't really know these stories. I don't really know all these stories, but I might figure it out soon if I think about it. But I'll ask you to look up the story of Pocahontas and see what relevance it has. I might figure it out later, because I'm not really familiar with the story, but that doll was left for me, so it must have some relevance. And must have some relevance. I know the relevance of the horse. I've already told you about how, the artificial ones around even they are very detail-minded. Most use the word, because they operate at a totally controlling level, they actually think that you are trying to one-up them in the most minute detail way. So basically you can't live because they see everything as a threat to their control. If you're just, if you're putting the garbage out, which you have to do, they will see that as a threat. They will see that as you getting attention, doing basic things even. That's how controlling Lucifer and its disciples actually are. This is why they always win. Archons, artificial beings, always win, and they are cons. But I also saw that saying on the internet after I said it, because they don't have any original thought. They are lazy, parasitic machine beings, in a way, even though they are more active in the world than a real person, because they have control. But they basically parasite and copy all human thought, even down to the minutest detail. They copy your words, they copy your speech, they copy your ideas, they copy your feelings, your emotions. That's why they study, because they know they have to have it down to a fine heart in order to keep control and bring about their total machine city matrix, or their machine city world even. In the city you observe it probably more. Probably if you were further out and there are less people, there's less physical control. But they will still control you, I would imagine, if you're a real human being. But if you have maneuvered your life to where you have more freedom and more space, you probably will have more advantage. Whereas to be stuck in a major city in any country gives them 100% control and the upper hand, because They can use the android beings around you. They can use every means possible to control your senses, which is your reality. Like while they're controlling my sight and sound, and it's amazing that they're allowing me to make this video. Even I say that because I haven't been able to, but that was to bring my frequency down too, to where I'm like, oh, I can't even talk to myself, even though they know that it makes no difference because like, you know how when you talk to yourself, sometimes it might be a slight bit of relief. So if I talk into the mobile, even though I'm feeling very stressed and my body is playing tricks with me because when you let the android beings around you, and I say let, but really I don't let them, but it's a sight and sound show, and I only have my senses to perceive what's around me. If I have lights in my eyes and loud noises in my ears, even if I was at a higher spiritual level or trying to raise my vibration, there's too much of that around for that to be possible. You can't cut off your senses. That's what you're here for, to live in this reality through your senses. That's what a human being, how we live. So anything that makes me feel a bit better, they try to push that down or take it from you. But it can be something quite small because they're aware that advanced human beings in this end time scenario will have to use, just as they use their control of controlling your minutest details, because they know that even the slightest bit of happiness from a human being, and believe you me, it's not proper happiness at all. It's still low vibration, but it's still higher than their no vibration. You know, a mechanical device, a machine that doesn't experience happiness at all in any way, only is a raging, angry machine, sees even a human being who is like myself at the lowest level. It's a bit like was explained to me by a demigod truth teller on the internet. If you're thirsty and you have a drink of water, they see that as a major threat. They're like, oh, you're getting relief from that water, so you're hitting ecstasy. Of course you're not. You're at survival level, only one notch above them. But they don't see it that way. The AI, artificially intelligent machine beings, are empty of any positive feelings, emotions or thoughts. In fact, they are psychic, or if you want to say it, they download human thought. Just as the computer, when you watch it, is downloading your every action, your every thought, even if you give it to the computer sometimes, like if you interact on the computer in any way, or with the demigods on the computer, you're giving your human thought, feeling and emotion to that demigod or that computer system freely, openly. Most of the time, like in my case, a lot of it is technically psychic, you could say. In other words, I haven't given permission. I'm not although when I make this video, yes, I am, and the only reason I made a video originally was because I thought I had nothing to lose. I was aware that it was dangerous to do so, and I didn't want to, but I was like, I have nothing to lose because they already know my every thought. So what have I got to lose by putting it out onto the computer? Maybe some real human might connect. Of course, that was a disastrous mistake too. It did not work out at all and still is not. But, and it does incur the wrath of the God entity and its beings too, to some extent. See, to some extent, that's what they look like, really. That's what they are. They were evolved in the laboratory. Maybe something to do with cloning. I don't understand. See, if I was given access to more knowledge, I'd be able to explain these things and actually prove them in a scientific, factual way. But I can't do that. But no doubt there will be demigods. Lucifer's demigods will explain this in some areas on the computer, because don't forget, they have to trap all human beings into their mind control matrix. So the most intellectual human beings, those more advanced than me, will have more information, but they'll still probably be playing in the matrix just the same. See, I just picked that up, and yet, I'd like to, I'm sorry for myself that I can't make these videos more or less a bit more smooth. But I have noticed that some of the demigods, and I only point this out to show how they emulate and have to be perceived as human, because most of them are really professional in their videos, but they will show you that they can then pretend to be faulty and make more faulty videos. In other words, like they might be moving the camera too much, like I'm not intending to. I'm actually trying to make them as still as possible, but I'm holding it with the wrong hand. And I don't know how to do anything else but holding the mobile still is near impossible. But the empty bowls from my one companion, which I failed to protect, were the artificial forces around me, or the artificial operatives or people for the controlled matrix in this inner west region, which is largely an army human controlling base. I've said before, all the workmen, all the people in whatever occupation they're in every house, I have no doubt that they are all working together. They all receive the same psychic thinking of my mind. How they perceive it and how they use it is up to them. It might depend on their particular use, who they're, what they're trying to control, what they're... Basically, they appear to work completely 100% together. Some might be working we've said before that it is a military army base. So those that are, if you're part of the army, you are 100% in unison and you obey orders without question. And your whole purpose and job is to basically suppress the enemy. The enemy in this case happens to be just innocent human beings trying to make a little bit of happiness out of a very depressive existence or environment. And they know that human beings are the only ones that can do that, because they can't do it because they don't experience happiness. They don't have any liking for anything. Their only liking is getting the energy, the dark, angry, depressive energy from human beings. They like to bring you down. They want to keep you controlled and feeling bad. That's low frequency. That's unhappy vibration. The minute they see you trying to raise your vibration, which is the normal way a human being does. Even if you are depressed, a human being is always trying to get out of it. But if they get totally on top of you, they can keep you stuck there and you can be finished. And that, of course, is their ultimate game. But that's their ultimate goal, but it's also their gain, because their gain in the... they want to actually get your negative energy before their ultimate goal of getting rid of you, really. Or if they think they can't keep on top of you, same thing, I would imagine. But don't forget, as I was told when I say many a year ago, like 6, maybe 5 years ago, when I started to look into a little bit more, dare I say, intellectually, of theorists and other alternative ways of looking at the reality. And I immediately saw that when some people were saying we live basically on a prison planet, a basic world that's 100% controlled, I knew it was true, because I knew my own environment was 100% controlled by this time, because they showed it to me, because they don't mind openly exposing and showing you their control if they know that it's going to drive you into the lowest frequency. It's going to make you very unhappy. If you're stalked and patrolled and harassed by excessive noise, excessive, stalking people around you, where you can never find any peace in yourself, not through your senses. But you can't even think, because even if you close your eyes like I do, almost trying to cut out my actual existence and my actual normal daily living, by not looking at people and not looking at the vehicles that are surrounding me, even the aeroplanes, not seeing them, then you are left with not hearing anything, because then they will send sound from somewhere. And don't forget, they sensitize you to hear sound much louder than what it is. But in my case, they have sent what would be classed as unacceptable human noise at me, to frighten and to suppress, and also to bring my vibration down, because sometimes I can get on top of the minor sounds. So they're continually monitoring and surveilling your environment and your mind. They're 100% what we would call psychic. Of course, in me saying that, I look as though I'm 100% paranoid. You see, this is also another thing, that they want you, a real human being, to look stupid or insane, or to be connected to strange ideas that could not possibly be true. So you don't look plausible in any way. You look as though you're out of touch with reality, and they look as though they're the most real, normal, sensible people, whereas they're really mad, psychopathic, controlling, androgyne beings. The only reason I emphasise the androgyne is because their body is slightly different to a real human being, but it is not perceivable to most human beings, especially in today's world, where the distinction between the different two that combine to create a spark of life are not as distinguishable. See, that also is Lucifer, because Lucifer was an androgynous elite being, always. Creation itself didn't realise that some of these things can create anomalies which, although they can be appealing and fascinating, they can also turn dark and negative in the mind. That's what we call the iniquity was found in this most admired and and most admired, and trying to use the words, but this being was exalted, from what I'm told. It was like put on a pedestal as though it was the very best, almost second to none. But in reality, it turned out that although it had many gifts, like you could have a child, a spoiled child that that appears to be most, almost better than others in many ways. But then this child gets a swelled head and becomes a spoiled brat, as they call it. It's the same thing. I should use better words, because to use it like that doesn't. But it is very much the same thing, where the child then, for the rest of its life, thinks that it is above everyone else, and this was what happened here. It shouldn't have happened. Maybe it shouldn't, but it did happen, from what I'm told. And this is just the tragedy of believing your own. If you believe everything that is reflected and told to you, it's like getting a compliment and saying thank you, but at the same time saying, well, very nice of that person to say that, they must like you. But if you actually kind of think that you take it too literally, and it's like that it's not true. Like if someone says you're the most beautiful person in the world, that's very flattering and very nice. But you're not the most beautiful person in the world, but you're like, that person might actually just fancy you, so that's nice. But it isn't true. But if you believe it, then you have entered into Lucifer's self-adulating, what they call egocentric mentality. And you will then, like the wicked queen in Snow White, where she every day had to go to the mirror and say, who is the most beautiful one in the land? And the mirror had to always answer, you, queen, are the most beautiful in the land. And if the mirror, as it did at some point, didn't mirror back to her that, one day when it mirrored back, oh, you, queen, are beauticious indeed and very superior and queen of the land. But unfortunately, little Snow White is more beautiful, because Snow White was pure in spirit. The queen had a haughty, classical kind of hard beauty. Very imposing, very impressive, very powerful, something that many people would admire. But from creation's perspective, Snow White, in her natural, just innocent, genuine, loving little state, she liked all nature, whereas the queen only wanted power over all the land and over all her disciples and followers. And even though Snow White really posed no threat to her, as we know in the fairy tale, she became infused with that envy and contempt, and sought to eliminate the source of her frustration, which was exactly like Lucifer. Exactly like Lucifer, when creation made man and woman. Lucifer sought to suppress, control and destroy the source of its frustration, because it felt like it was being upstaged. Somehow it wasn't as regarded as important, because Lucifer was meant to serve and help the human beings. Lucifer was created differently, we know this. Man and woman was created from creation directly. A bit like, as I say, the difference really, what I've come to realise, the difference between the artificial creations, in other words, those that are created artificially in laboratory, like Lucifer and its disciples, they're a different species. They are, they're artificial by comparison with a natural human being. And they do not have the same mindset. They do not experience the same vibrations or frequencies. They do not operate in any form of love, happiness, positivity, or delight in any sort of life or anything natural in any way. Of course, they will promote those things. They will be, this is the deception, the end time deception, is that they will be your biggest promoters of nature. They will pretend to be anti-computer, anti-life, anti-artificial intelligence technology even though that is what they actually are. This is the end game. This is why they say that in the end time, very few will not be deceived. Very few will actually realise how they're being taken over at a mental level. Because, of course, there is the physical side too. Like, I'm aware of this, but because they keep my frequency and vibration low, they are able to take control of my senses and my body. And that, of course, then affects my frequency and vibration more. I mean, if you are in physical pain, it is very hard to be happy. This is what they eventually can do if they can break through your defences, if they can bring your frequency and vibration down just that little bit lower, which is what they've done to me since the beginning of the year. Little ailments that I could have shook off very easily if I was in a more natural, normal environment, not surrounded by this artificial matrix around me with its possessed anti-life beings that are a totally different species, pretending to be real-life human beings, smiling in your face and then knifing you in the back, saying hello to you on the street while all their patrol cars are around you flashing lights, and they're pretending not to be connected when they're all connected. They're all what they call a one mind. They all are receiving your thoughts. They're all feeding off your reactions. They want your negative frequency. They want your negative frequency and vibration. If you smile or are happy, it's like they could almost be blown away. They'll almost like push away, but they know that by continually monitoring your every thought from second to second, they know that you're not capable of getting on top of that. I mean, I could use many examples. Like, for instance, the other night, and I only use these as an example, so don't take them as though I'm trying to pretend to be a demigod or a false one on the internet, where I use my so-called personal experience, because most of their personal experience is fake. They're copying that from human experience. But I have very little, and so I look for nature, but there's very little nature. They get rid of animals that you have, even though it looks natural, their demise. But if you figure it out, as I do, I always look for a cause. In the past, I would have bought into their lies. Lucifer, the reason they say that Lucifer changed into Satan is because that was when creation became aware that Lucifer was a duality, two-faced false being. That all the good qualities that Lucifer was projecting was masking its insatiable need for power and control and wanting to be God, wanting to have the highest position, not satisfied with even being admired and adulated as second to none, almost, you could say, for what I can gather. But see, that's part of the nature, you see. That's the iniquity that they talk about. And this is also true of its disciples. You see this. They are basically always trying to make you feel bad by one-upmanshiping you. That's their only way of getting on top, because they know that even though you might not be satisfied with your lot in life, you will look to try to raise your mood by trying to because sometimes when you get to an older age, you realise that your dreams are not possible. So therefore you do then come to accept your lot in life, and you will appreciate the little things a bit more because you know you can't have the bigger things. But this is a good thing, but it's also a negative thing for the android beings, because they're like, that's still potential for raising your mood. Because if you accept that you can't have, because they always want you to be chasing a dream, they always want you to feel less and as though your life is unhappy and no good. And most of the time, particularly when you're younger, you will feel this way because you'll be well aware of the world matrix around you and even other people around you that always seem to be doing better. They make you feel that you're incompetent and a failure in this world and that you almost don't exist. But once you accept, as I did, just in more recent times, that I don't exist but I don't care, then they come down on you because they're like, there is potential for frequency vibration rising. Because you're no longer competing with the matrix or the people around. They're still competing with you. But if you mentally don't want to compete with them or just don't care, if you get to 80 and you still think you're going to be a world beater, you're out of touch, aren't you? Normally, as you get to a certain age, you start to accept that your whole life was wasted thinking that you either will go about trying to get your dreams, but if you're like myself, where you were too frightened to do that, full of fear, at some point, surely you realise that the things that you wanted are not possible because of age, because time has passed. Even though there is no time, there is still the matrix, your inner body. Even your body slows down and deteriorates largely because of the environmental factors, which you're unaware of. And you believe them to be true, so then it becomes a reality because, as we're told, human thought creates reality. So you create your own negative physical and mental things. See, what I'm trying to say is like ailments and little things that I should have been able to flick off at the beginning of the year became like 6 months of physical distress and physical pain that shouldn't have been necessary. Because even from a scientific medical point of view, the condition that I had at the beginning of the year, which I won't go into, should have only lasted 3 weeks. Instead, it lasted 6 months. And even now, even as I'm making this video, I still have discomfort in a part of my body because of all this negative matrix and these anti-life people around me. Basically, I've not been able to heal myself. So what should have been even medically over in 3 weeks went on for, and is, this is 7 months now, because we're July. Even I knew that, but I couldn't get on top of it because I just could not relax, or, what they call the immune system is compromised because of negative thoughts, because you feel really bad. Because if you're, they send everything against you. Like if you're surrounded by all these controlling beings, sending sight and sound negative vibrations at you most of the time. In fact, making this video, which is rather strange, that I'm not hardly experiencing anything. but I am exerting energy, so maybe they're getting something out of it. I'm not quite sure what their game is here. That because, like I say, I was frustrated not even being able to use this mobile at all for for a number of weeks since the last one. I don't even always put the videos out straight away. Sometimes I do. I don't put the dates. I should do that, but I get so confused that I can't even concentrate to even put a few letters. I can't even get the titles right half the time. I think of something and then the demigods steal it and put it onto their videos on the screen. I know that sounds paranoid and like, oh, sour grapes, but it is them actually taking what is your thought, your feelings and things, and they are taking your, if you're a human being, they're taking what should be a benefit to you. Because, if they're getting support and even getting physical benefits from it by promoting being a helper and a truth teller and a philosopher, when they are really artificial Lucifer's android, androgyne collaborative species. That only through deception and lies are they actually controlling everything. Because they themselves are not really thinking anything, they're just downloading at a technical level all the human thought. Everything that is real or positive or beneficial, they're downloading and promoting it as their own. That is like Lucifer pretending to be what it once pretended to be, and its disciples are doing the same. The whole earth is covered by Lucifer and his disciples who are pretending to be beings of light most of the time. They only expose their darker side when they can get away with it, when they have you isolated and suppressed to where no one can help you, to where you can't get any support. I can hear the possessed beings around me driving their cars up the side. Mobile won't pick it up. But I turn the lights out and I'm just gonna it's a pity that I can't, doesn't matter, I'm just a bit disappointed that I can't hold the mobile better, because even if I just are talking to myself and videotaping the inside of where I live, it's a bit like if you take a photo. It may not be a great photo, but you do want to frame it properly at least, and I don't seem to manage that even, but oh, wait on. Okay, so I've got the TV going, so I'm going to I'm not sure if I know that it's work. See, we're going to see this video. I haven't heard this or seen this video for years, but see how we have, see this video, how we have, that's the Statue of Liberty, but notice how it is in the red colour of Lucifer. Because the Statue of Liberty, I was told this, and I've always felt very uneasy about the physical demeanour of the Statue of Liberty. Like it's a very imposing, powerful figure, even though it comes in human woman form. But it is not, obviously, it's an artificial androgyne android. It is one of Lucifer's, and it's symbolic too, isn't it? Because it is like, okay, it's symbolic. See, artificial beings singing. The demigods are artificial beings, disciples of the God entity of this world. They're showing you this song is literally asking you to go with them. See, there's the Statue of Liberty again, but notice how they've got it's showing you that the different species or the different races are they're all part of the matrix. So this is part of the deception too. There's always the segregation, the separation, but I know for a fact that there's no difference. They're all the same like that. Doesn't matter what form they take. They can come in every different species and race on this earth, but you still have this two different, totally different human beings. One is opposing the other. One is trying to suppress, control, and take over the other. And these demigods are showing it here in this video, and they're hoping that you will go with them, because the title is, they're like promising that if you go with them, life will be peaceful then. But it will be a control, peaceful life. You see, the demigods use the power of music and human beings' natural passion and all that sort of thing to their advantage. But they do essentially they don't like, and this is why, you know, from when this all started in my environment, in this army control base, which is essentially like a huge area, like many, many suburbs that is just totally controlled everywhere you go. But they essentially want you following. This particular video just came up after years. I haven't heard it for years and years. It doesn't matter, but I'm not getting sense here. I'm getting sidetracked for some reason. Doesn't matter. What was I saying? Completely lost my train of thought. See, this is what I'm saying, is that even if some people might say, well, I'm on the same wavelength as some other person somewhere on the other side of the world, if they just happen to be listening. Most people would say, but she's on the same wavelength as the demigods, or those that are successful on the computer that are saying the same thing. But what I'm saying is, this is the deception. I might look like an incompetent fool, like as though I'm just picking up on bits and pieces of theories and trying to figure things out, or even trying to be part of some sort of alternative way of looking at things. I think they have a name for that even. And I have noticed, I see how false this entire screen is. Everything that is on it. Because you will see professional professors and experts, and even those that pretend that they're just a victim of circumstances, but they've figured it all out. But unless you realise that they're overstepping their normal position, they're overdoing it, they have too much information. if you're a practical psychologist and in the next breath you start talking about God and spirituality, you're a fraud. You're one of Lucifer's disciples. You're trying to encompass everything so you can surpass the human being. This is what I've seen because I've watched those on the internet that do this. But either way, this other video, the videos are just going to come up, so unfortunately it's going to be haphazard. But I have seen this video. I hadn't watched it for quite a few months, but I watched it over and over again at one point because it was relevant to me. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be able... See, there'll be someone else that will do this video that will do it properly, but they will be, you know, one of Lucifer's demigods or one of Lucifer's disciples or followers, you know. And that's just how it is, because all the music artists are demigods, but they are your elite demigods. They are world famous. They are successful at a attention, influential level. And it all comes in various degrees on the internet, you know. That means like some people might have an audience of, you know, 40,000. Another may have 1 million. The higher your audience, just the more well-known you are. But they're all successful demigods because they're suppressing human beings. Oh. But I don't think I can even do this. See, I had this song down to a fine heart to where I could have done a video a year ago, but now I'm just in a mess about doing it, and it just come up. Also because I related this song to The Matrix, and there, as I always do with everything, because there is the outer matrix and the inner matrix. That means how they control your mind is your inner matrix, or like mind control. They're controlling your mind. They're affecting how you think about everything, like me, to where I am convoluted and can't even make a video on a video that I have watched, you know, 100 times. Just over the last, you know, like in the space of, say, you know, 2 months, say, something like that. So I should know it really well, but, you know, I'm losing my ability to focus and my enthusiasm, even confidence to do that, to where I'm not getting the right feeling about it, whereas like I had strong feelings about what it meant and what the demigods were trying to do, because that means like the music demigods, when they make that video, they're trying to, you know, make you feel a certain way. But also they're trying to get you on their wavelength because they get the admiration and the attention from you. You know, if you listen to a piece of music that you relate to and you sing along with, they are stealing your energy that you should be really giving to your own kind, not to their kind, because they're a different type of being. And you know, as was said to me, oil and water don't mix. You know, if you're psychopathic and only have angry, negative emotions, and you are seducing someone that at least is trying to feel happy and have some positive, you know, kind of peaceable human emotions, peace is alien to Lucifer and its artificial androgynous race of beings that control this reality or this earth. Peace is alien to them. Peace is poison to them. This is a known thing, and this is what you see, because they're always, that saying of chaos, they desire chaos. They like confusion. They like always to be the opposite to human beings that don't want to always be unhappy and in a state of confusion, or even to where you're depressed and you feel numb. This is all normal for an artificially intelligent androgenous being in an androgynous human body, or an androgynous android artificial body. Use a lot of words, so the artificial ones would use a lot of words. I only do that because I think that just is like myself trying to clarify what I'm trying to say, and some people might understand one word more than another. I know that myself. There are some words, I've learned a lot of new words over the last year that I didn't know their meanings and wouldn't have even used them. So that's why they do it too, because then they are also relating to the human. They're belittling the human, but they're also hoping that other humans, because there's some vague psychic thread which I'm unaware of, where you still could be connected. I could be, through a thread, still connected to some human on the other side of the world, but that human instead will turn on the internet here. They'll turn on the internet, and they will see the demigods, those speaking on the internet, using the same words as me. And so they will then think, oh, that's a human being. They won't know that the reason they identify with that apparent human being on the internet, which is really an artificial being, not a human being, they won't know that they're relating to that. Not only because they might be relating to them because they speak the truth, or they can relate to them because they've had the same experience. Even though it's all staged and all fake, they've not had the same experience. They're merely downloading the human thought and pretending to experience human things. They do not experience the same reality the way human beings do. How can they? How can something that doesn't have any, how can a being that only experiences anger and frustration and discontent, because that is like the opposite. We are talking about, but also this is directed against a human being, because Lucifer always had disdain, contempt and extreme dislike, that's putting it mildly, for when human beings, came into the earth, shall we say, because that would have been a nice environment for a human being. Human beings are natural spiritual human beings, and they were given a natural spiritual environment to live in. So that would keep kind of like harmony, I suppose, the frequency and vibration. If everything's frequency and vibration and energy, then if human beings who lean towards happiness are put in a conducive environment where they should theoretically be happy, that would keep balance for everything, wouldn't it, I suppose? Because it would mean that they would be balancing out any negative frequency of vibration. Unfortunately, Lucifer and its fallen minions, fallen beings, came to earth to seduce Adam and Eve into embracing their technical reality, which was like trying to convert the natural, normal, random earth that had potential for high frequency and vibration and happiness and love and all those things that we relate as being what human beings would want, a peaceful world. Their whole thing was to create an artificial matrix, a control system whereby they could suppress and control human beings and basically harness their energy too, because then they theoretically thought that they could get closer to creation, and eventually, like the aim from the beginning, Lucifer wanted to be God. Lucifer still wants to be God. Lucifer won't stop wanting to be God until it gets to be God. This is something, and technology and its control matrix reality is part of getting there, because in trying to take over the human mind, or what some people call transhumanism, or even that singularity thing, Lucifer, in its deluded, iniquitous state, in other words, iniquity was found in Lucifer. So in that abnormal, unbalanced, psychotic state, you could say, by comparison with a human being, I have to use words, but essentially this being is out of touch, insane in the membrane, insane, completely egocentric to the point of insanity, in fact beyond the point of insanity, because it wants its position of being admired and worshipped as it used to, but also not to even get back its original position, which no doubt is probably not possible because of the iniquity, because of the insanity, because of the imbalance that it would bring to everything. You see, this was why creation had to, I would think, abandon Lucifer and its followers, probably even very reluctantly, but realizing that this being was never going to back down, never going to change its mind, never going to not want to try to basically be God. But if this being became God, it's essentially filled with, it's a reverse world, and this being is filled with reverse feelings. Its idea of paradise is chaos, control, and making human beings feel unhappy and full of negative vibration, which it feeds off, because that is like assimilating something positive, which is not really normal for technology to assimilate with humanity or that which is life. It's an alien collaboration. It's an opposite collaboration that can never work, or that is not meant to work. It has no benefit to life. It only benefits the machine beings, because they think by getting that, they can keep going. They can keep their negative anti-life control matrix full of contempt, anger, and low vibration, and everything that basically is negative for a human being. They can keep that going for eternity, they hope, because they want to keep going. They want eternity. They want eternal life. But they don't want eternal positive life. They want eternal cyborg artificial life where they have control, because that makes them feel powerful, which essentially is their name of the game. So power to them is the same as whatever brings a human being great happiness. It's a reverse world, and they are the reverse of a human being, but they are pretending to be real human beings. So human beings interact with them just as we interact with technology, unknowingly realizing that it is not a benefit to us. We're told this. We've all heard about artificial intelligence taking over. We've all heard about, the transhumanism and the singularity, but it is only a benefit to Lucifer and its android beings, because their only aim is to keep their control matrix going, or to keep control of the earth. If you think it's still a random natural earth, it would just mean that, as I've said before, that Lucifer and the powers that be are controlling human beings or controlling the natural environment. But many realise, of course, that it is far too advanced for that we have been really, what some have said to me, hijacked at a mind control level. Because if you don't know the technology that's around you, if you don't know the beings that are around you and what their aim is, and if you don't know that they're all combined, and if you don't know that they're combined to take from you, to take your humanity from you, that means your potential for happiness, then you're in the dark, and they will do that. And even if you become aware of it, like me, they will still do it, because by the time you become aware, you will be totally surrounded. And if they've isolated you, and if even those that could support you don't see you as any different to the artificial ones. In other words, if the artificial androgynous android beings are pretending to be you, literally, they're copying and reading your every thought and projecting that back to your kind, you don't really have any way of of stopping the so-called matrix singularity. That just came to me, but that just means that where they have the artificial AI system is combining with human beings and doing that to take over, doing that for eternal life. But if they have eternal life, that means human beings won't have any life. And that will imbalance everything, I'm told, because basically, if you have like I've said before, and we're told this, everything is frequency, vibration, and energy. So if you have everything being negative energy, everything in low frequency, everything under control, you basically got a machine reality, you basically got a cyborg reality, they're the words. You basically got robots or technical machinery that appears to be human, because even though a humanoid or android looks and feels human and talks, the word will be used to control human beings. If an android says, "I love you," you've no reason to doubt it. But if the android can't really experience love, what should the android really be saying? But you will believe the "I love you," you will believe the "I like you," "I will help you," I am your mentor, I'm your guider, I'm your help, I'm your dream, I will give you everything. This is the promise through words. Even though the thought is not really there, the feelings are not behind it. There is no love. A machine cannot love. The artificially created species that has been dominating this earth for a long, long time, since Lucifer and its falling beings came and basically seduced man and woman out of their natural, healthy, high vibrational environment into the unknown, you could say. You know, these beings have been around and they have been controlling, but they are, you know, they have a lot of knowledge, and they have, you know, artificial intelligence at an intellectual level can surpass human beings. We know this. But it is going to use its intellect to surpass human beings, not to benefit human beings, not to serve them, as Lucifer never wanted to serve man and woman, but to suppress and control them and eventually, you know, show them to be inferior, which is the main aim of it all. And you might say, well, if they know more and if they can do more things, why doesn't that make them superior? Well, because everything is frequency, vibration and energy, and they basically don't have any high frequency and vibration. They have great intellect, they have great know-how, they have great technology because they are essentially a technical machine being. And they want to make a human being like a technical human being because they only want you to combine and operate with them so that they can steal your spirit, your spark of life, so they can go on and on and on, because eventually technology does rust away and die. We know this. A machine can only last so long. Well, you might say to me, your human body has been failing you greatly in the last 6 months. You just admitted it. Well, that's true. But that is because I am suppressed by the low frequency and vibration that's around me. And they know that. And they know that that affects then my mood and my feelings. So it's all just about control. So in the end, they hope that you will just give up, because it does become a never-ending battle that you think you certainly can't even get on top of most of the time. And that's the name of the game. That's exactly how they want it. And they set you up to where you're full of fear that you can't survive without technology. That's the name of the game too, to create a reality where you have to, as we now are, have to interact with technology. You need it for your physical survival. You know, so it is what we call a catch-22. Catch-22. That means you can't win, whatever way. In fact, it will only take the most advanced human beings at the highest spiritual level that are not going to be full of fear, even about the body, and will have to operate under faith alone, with no help at a spiritual level, much even, from outside thing, because this matrix is very closed down. I might talk all this talk and think that there is a creator of, say, the human being, but I'm not in contact with that. And that was the price that was paid, as we know from the original story, that if you separate from your creator, then you will be combining with the other creator, the technological creator. You know, because if one God rules this earth matrix, but that is not your God of creation, but that is now the reality, because that God has taken over. You've invited that negative spirit or that technology into your life. It's all the same thing now. We can see it as technology, but originally it was just being seduced probably by a technological androgyne duality being. And I think that everyone knows what I mean by that. This is also why we are conditioned to accept the duality. I know this from my own experience, accept that as normal, but it is a thin line. If you are at a high spiritual level, you will not be connected as much to the body, not unless you are only connected to someone who is genuinely of your own sort or your own kind. And like I say, you probably won't be able to tell because most people are seduced by words, we know this. Even actions can be faked, you know. If you see someone participating in something that you agree with or helping you, you naturally assume that to be a real human being the same as yourself. You don't think that it's an android pretending to be a real human being in order to get you on side so that they can bring you into their energy, into their life. Because once they do that, they form a connection, and that gives them access to your energy. The minute you interact with anyone around, I'm giving them access to my energy. And they take that from you. You're a battery for them, we've been told this. That's why you end up with a poor immune system to there where physical then things can take over. And they know that there's the physical, spiritual, and the mental, and we've said this, but they know that all these things are still connected in the reality. So they exploit that. They understand the human mind and the human body better than what we do, because we don't sit around analysing everything like that. I've been forced to over the last few years because I thought my survival did depend on it, but it still does not guarantee me survival. It's a bit like that the demigods will tell you even in a video. Knowledge is not enough even. Because knowing that the matrix is around you, unless you can stop it from being around you, unless you can push it aside, unless you can get, myself, I've always thought for a long time now, that the only way that if you are surrounded, because the numbers are in their favour, very much so. So how do you, raise your frequency and vibration when you are surrounded by, 150,000 negative human entities that you feel their negative vibration too. They take yours as they interact with you and pass you and see you. But they affect your vibration. They make you come down to a low frequency. Even the cold weather that's coming up, they control the weather. Like there's a dreadful wind blowing up outside, which means that it's going to be freezing if I go outside. And they know that that brings them my mood down as well, because you're coping with the androids around you that never stop with their relentless patrolling and controlling activities around you when you go out your door. But also, they know that you as a human being who have already low body temperature and are not young and are trying to fight off disease and illness, whilst also mentally coping with their patrol system around you at a sight and sound level, basically, then they throw in the cold weather conditions, which makes your body uncomfortable and not able to, having more trouble to fight off the immune deficiency illnesses that they have put onto you by bringing your frequency and vibration down. Because when they bring my frequency and vibration down through their control system around me, I am then susceptible for them when they send their negative energy and also their mind controlling wanting to palm off their own illnesses onto you. This is why everywhere where I go in Leichhardt, I see people limping, walking sticks. They're always trying to make you limited. Because you're walking and still getting around, they're trying to limit through mind control and through physical direct energy at you. Because they know that your only protection is your spiritual high vibration, or that potential. You see, so it is really that kind of battle going on. I don't think I explained that well. I don't think I explained that properly at all. This particular video coming up is called You Win Again. Now, it's quite a well-known song, but essentially all music and movies and anything you see on the internet, you can take everything said. You know, I've always said this a couple of ways. We know this, you can interpret things, but you win again. The Matrix machine beings look upon it that you always win again if you're a human being. But the human being knows that they always win again too, because they have the advantages. But they are different to a human being because they are patrolling and watching you moment to moment, whereas you're not watching them moment to moment. So your victories are only in your personal happiness, usually, I would say, or raising your vibration, whereas their victories are in monitoring you from moment to moment, trying to figure out and bring in something into the environment around you that will make you unhappy. They have the advantage because they're watching you, but you're not watching them. And if it gets to the point like where they come down on you and then you are forced to watch them, because don't forget, you can't win, it's a catch-22, but you can't win because if you watch them like I do, they want you to watch them because they're extracting your negative energy. When I look at the bright car with its bright headlights in my eyes, or I hear the negative technical sounds of the patrolling android workmen that are around, or even just the civilians that are using their cars or any mechanical device to create negative sound in my ears as I pass them. You know, this is... lost my train of thought. But this is all... you know, they will always win again because even when you are watching them and you're not in the dark anymore, they still have the upper hand because they want you to notice them at that point. So in other words, I'm still under their control because when they come down on you and patrol you openly, at least from your perception, it may not appear. I mean, the cars only come round when I go out. If I'm not out, those cars and those trucks and those lorries and all those buses that surround me, all these vehicles that surround me at a vehicle matrix level, they're not operating for any other human being, even if they were in the vicinity around them, because otherwise the matrix would be exposing itself to those that are in the dark, and there's no need for them to, it's not in their interest to expose themselves to be controlling if someone's in the dark. They're already under control. It's only when you start to wake up to the people around you, as I did, that then they will come down with the control patrol system. And that is also after they have made it so that you are relatively isolated, like myself. So being aware and focusing on them is still to their advantage. In fact, it's very much to their advantage then, because they're like, she can no longer raise her frequency and vibration and find any peace in herself, because we're always getting her attention. We are always drawing negative fuel or energy from her, because that is fuel to them. They're like, as the psychopathic narcissistic advisors on the internet will tell you, fuel is their source of energy. Like a car, they're like a mechanical car. They're a mechanical being, you could say, an artificial being that requires fuel. And they get life and fuel from a human being. That's why some people call them energy vampires, because a vampire has to have the human life, has to have the human blood or the human energy or fuel. It's all just words or terminology for what they're taking from you, what they're taking from you, extracting from you and assimilating it into themselves to give them the spark of life. They take life from me at my expense so that they can get life to keep going. But they don't use it to experience positive human life. No, because they can't, because they're machine beings. So they're merely they're taking life, positive life from a human being and using it to keep their negative existence going. And this is why creation doesn't approve of it, I would imagine. Because, if you think about it, it doesn't benefit life at all. It doesn't benefit overall creation. And some have said that it shouldn't have been. I mean, don't forget that all these things, but I personally think that this is all, this particular God entities and its beings, use of creation through technology. Like the minute a scientist starts playing around in a laboratory, he's already ventured away from creation. Already anti-life, already, some people might say already satanic or anti-life, or evil, which is anti-life backwards, because they do like to use the verbal stuff too. They use everything. It's all beyond my comprehension, but it's all a form of, some people might say it's magic. It's only magic because I don't understand it. It's like if everyone around me has information and knowledge about me or about how things really work, and I don't, they have an unfair advantage, even though I, or a real human being, say, might be the only one that has potential to experience anything positive. I'm not explaining this properly, but what I'm trying to see, that's what human beings are, in the dark. So although they're the key to everything in some ways, because, like I've said, they are the only ones that experience or can put out positive, high vibration, any form of high vibration. Everything is frequency and vibration. Technical beings have no vibration. They can only give out negative vibration because we are told that they are essentially, artificial intelligence, we're actually told this, is an angry, raging machine. But it is going to seduce human beings by pretending to be the opposite of that. Because when it interacts with human beings, it mimics what a human being wants to see. but inside it's a raging, angry machine being. We know this, and yet we will still be seduced if it acts out being a friendly, informative, helpful, kindly human being, shall we say. I have to use words, but all I'm saying is that inside, a machine being does not experience any positive human emotions, just as a psychopathic personality type human, which is a very similar thing, doesn't experience any positive, loving human emotions or have any connection with any form of life. Everything to an android or to a psychopath is just material. A human being is no different to any other material object. Human beings are not seen by a psychopath, as we know, as a living human being. This is why they can, treat some human beings, if they can get away with it, in a very negative way. And this is why the android beings that control the inner west of Sydney, why they, in secret, are patrolling, stalking, and trying to, what we call covertly, that means hidden, but in plain sight, because most of what takes place around myself in my environment is hidden, but it's also in plain sight. Like all the vehicles and the people that are around me and the things they do are all in plain sight, but they're hidden because they're only converging around the person as they go outside. And another person that might be somewhere else in Sydney or Australia or even on the other side of the world, whatever, if it's the same, if it's a human being, because I have to use these words, they won't see that. They converge around your sight and sound and you, so that you cannot even show it, really. And even if you do show a bit of it, it's still not going to be valid to most people. It's accepted that a lot of the cars have the extra bright particular type of lights, because when they started flashing them in my eyes, I immediately noticed. Of course, they only flash them when I look too. This is another thing too, like it's one thing to say, oh yes, a lot of the cars have the extra bright lights, which is totally unnecessary in a city where you have bright street lights. Those lights were designed for no light way out in the country where there is no light, where you can't see 2 feet in front of you. And yet you've got every car in this area with these lights on. And they even leave them on all day too. That's just to let you know that they're watching and that they're there. Because what normal, real human being would leave high-powered, extra bright headlights on when the sun is blazing down? I pointed this obvious, unreality, thing out, a few years ago. But, you can't show it because it doesn't even if I filmed it, it just doesn't come out enough. And a lot of people just say, so what, we don't care. So you've got a lot of silly people that want to leave their headlights on all day. But, it is not accidental. It's not silly people that just don't care about leaving headlights on, even though it makes no sense, because it would be not to their, it'd be like wasting your fuel and stuff, wouldn't it? But it's not because they don't do it. They're anti-life androgenous artificially intelligent machine beings that are psychopathic in nature, which means they're raging machine, angry beings from a human standpoint. And they rage and are angry against all life. They see all life as trying to upstage them. They see everything as a competitive. They're basically gods of war, as they say. Demigods of war and servants, disciples and followers of a god of war, or a god of destruction, a god of envy and egotistical in nature. And that's just essentially what it is, because Lucifer always envied the human being being brought into the earth. Because, after iniquity was found in Lucifer, and then creation brings something into being that is connected to creation, that is natural and normal, the resentment and anger built up as well. But that was especially after, this, this is the danger of the cyborg reality, or even what you'd call, artificial beings being brought into existence in a human body in particular. But even if it's not in a human body, it's still a danger, only in the sense that you assume that they have a choice, and you assume that they would collaborate with a human being if the human being was friendly to them. This just doesn't seem to happen, because the machine being always sees a human being as competition, because a machine being is basically a competitive, raging, angry machine. It is about power and control. That's all it has in its mind. That's all it has going for it, because it doesn't experience any positive vibration of any sort. That doesn't exist to it. How could it ever collaborate or be friendly really with that which it sees as competition, something that it has to dominate and control? See, that's the thing. It makes sense that way, doesn't it? But as a human being, if something lives and speaks and seduces with the right words and the right actions, a human being doesn't understand that they're using their machine intelligence to great advantage to manipulate and seduce you. And they do it very well. And I don't know what. So the video's just starting there, see? But see how they're always watching? They're watching the human eye. They particularly, from what I can gather, they're one-eyed beings, as we said. The God entity of this world is a one-eyed God. Lucifer's a one-eyed God that only sees things one way, its way. And its way is you are to be controlled and sublimated, pushed down, while it exalts itself and its disciples and followers and believers, or I have to use the different words, but they're like I say, they're probably a totally different species that is not spiritual or natural, shall we say. And that's that's So, it's getting very cold. Okay, so this video is starting. I'll try to get away from it here. Black cat. Black cat. What does the black cat mean in the video? I like to put cats because I will focus on a cat too. But this video is very old, but that doesn't matter because, see, so you're interacting with them, you want what everybody needs, but human beings need certain things. We need positive vibration and emotion from other human beings, even if we're not interacting with them. We don't want to be like myself, where you go outside and you feel that you are surrounded by, essentially, by negative emotions, by a competitive, envious, angry nature that is seeing you as competition even just by breathing. Just your very existence, like Lucifer when man and woman was brought into the perfect earth environment. Lucifer saw it as an affront to its existence and saw it as something to compete with and to take over. It's a mindset, you see. But essentially all machine beings have that mindset because that's all they know. That's the only way they function. If you don't experience, like for instance, if you don't believe in the existence of any form of love for life in any way, you don't actually experience that. You don't even know what it is. A machine doesn't know what love is. A machine doesn't know what life is. A machine doesn't know any of those things. Human beings might be separated from them. We might not be allowed to have access to love and life, shall we say, but we still believe in that existence. And even the machine beings promote it through control with their movies, music, videos, and anything that's on the screen even. Because they have to be what they call the great pretenders, yeah. Because that makes them great, you see. Because they know that then they're eliciting control over you through your admiration, just through your attention, just through they're influencing you to follow them, to, because everything is frequency and vibration and energy. So they will use any means necessary to get that energy, to get that attention, to get that, to get some sort of frequency and vibration from you, because a machine needs the energy and the fuel to survive. That's why they call them survival machine beings. And that makes them sound superior. And indeed, it does give them, the power position there, shall we say. They do. How could it not? See, I don't need energy from a machine being, but a machine being needs energy from me. That might appear that they're at a disadvantage, but they aren't when they control everything and when they are everywhere and in very disproportionate numbers in their favour, particularly when they surround you and control whole suburbs that surround you. And because it is also a worldwide thing, they are all like-minded and they're all the same species. So basically they cover the world in every country, I would imagine. So, but I was going to do that video again, but I couldn't get it. Couldn't get that video. I couldn't get that video. I will go back to it if I can, but these videos are just coming up, so I'm just gonna use them so that the video is a bit more interesting, you know, because you know, when I started to use the videos as an example of the matrix to control how you see it if you're listening, because it was the only thing I could really relate to. But see, it comes down to the reality now that it is their control against someone else's control. Like, because you realise you're not in a random natural world, it's forcing you to act differently, to try to get control of something that you almost can't get control of. And they don't want you to even have control of your own thinking even. They want to control how you think this is a known thing. That's why they call it mind control. You know, they call it mind control. Because if they can control your mind, they control your actions. So therefore, I'm not getting around doing the things that I would normally do that might raise my frequency and vibration just a little bit. You become fearful. You don't see any point in going, you know, you often don't see any point in going even to a different place because you know that they're going to surround you in that place. And that has been the case, you know. But at the same time, they're then controlling me. So they win again, like that song, but I might have to finish up here because I'm not quite focused. Not quite focused here. Oh. So I'll just finish. I might have to just finish up here because I was going to do that other video, but as you can see, I couldn't even remotely do it. So that's the word. So I don't know. So I don't, but you know. Well, that's true too. Well, that one came up, so, but you know, it's a reverse world, so, you know, these beings are programmed to, you know, protect themselves from any sense of you know, I mean, human beings commit many sins. We know that. And that's, you know, most of them are irreversible. But we don't feel happy about it. And usually it does tend to haunt us. But the machine beings live only in the moment. So they're not, if they do something negative, they don't, it doesn't haunt them because they live only in the moment. they forget and dismiss what they did a few moments ago, from what I've heard. So they are complete survival machine beings in that respect. And this is why when you interact with them, it's futile. But you don't realise that, because they will exhibit human emotions to you. They will imitate real life. They may even present an image or a persona that makes you relate to them and actually think that they are very human. This is the dilemma of your interactions, and certainly has been mine. And don't forget that because they're negative, they will push you towards sin. They want you to accept, they do, as they talk about the psychopathic, narcissistic personalities, these beings break down your natural, normal, what we call thinking about certain things. They like to gradually infiltrate your mind. I know this from my own experience when I have dealt with psychopathic types over a lifetime. I say this, that during the time when I was particularly close to some psychopathic people, I didn't overly care about other life very much. Things that I would normally have focused on and thought were, that I would have been emotional about, I was almost indifferent to because of my association. See, this is the problem, is everything is frequency and vibration and energy, and you get the energy transference. They take the life from you. They steal or take the life and light that you have from you, and then they send back their negative, bland anti-life to where you're indifferent to your own true feelings, or what you just normally think and feel. I observed this years and years ago even. I didn't observe it at the time, but I did notice that, particularly if you are becoming more aware of what you should be. In other words, to where you want to relate more to life. They will try to separate you from life, just like the like I say, I was feeling very low vibration, very low frequency. In other words, not feeling very content at all. The reverse, in fact. But I saw a possum just at the bottom of the street, and I threw it some food. In fact, I had been throwing just a little bit of food, not much, only because I had too much bread anyway. Just throwing it and leaving it there for the possum. Of course, I actually said to myself, I don't know if I should do this because I know the androids are always watching. And, sure enough, I should have even filmed it, but I didn't have the mobile, and I don't care to show these things. But I walked past the fence where I normally would perhaps leave something, and little baby possum, completely dead, in a very unpleasant position there, right in front of me. I walk smack into it, and they know you are. And they hope that that will really demoralise you and bring you down, which, even though I deliberately tried to dismiss it and pretend that I didn't even see it, even though I did, of course, I tried to dismiss it greatly. And I even tried to override it by pretending almost to sing a bit, but that probably angered them more. But at the same time, I felt they're not going to bring me down, because I knew it was deliberate, and I was. But of course, eventually it made me sicker physically, even, because basically I couldn't override my natural thing, because and of course they actually say, well, hey, if you want to do the goody things, if you want to do what comes natural, and you want to get some sort of buzz out of doing that, even though you probably don't get that much out of it, but you might actually like that. If you do it, you will be responsible for the death of not just a possum, but a baby possum too, because they know that I'm very well aware that they're trying to secretly get rid of most life. So if you have natural species still breeding with a baby, that's like, they know that will really make you distressed. And it did, because I got sick straight after that too. And but also I'm like, should I actually do that? Because I actually thought, I don't want to, like, as you don't want to take over the environment anyway, because you don't want to make anything too dependent. But it's cold winter time now. I just thought just a tiny bit it might make them be a bit happier, type of thing. And I throw, if you're on your own and you buy a huge loaf of bread, you're not going to eat the whole lot in a few days anyway. So, there's always going to be a few slices that's going to be over that you're going to throw out anyway. And they sort of resent me throwing that for the birds or for possums, because I didn't realise there was any life around here, and it kind of, but doesn't matter. But all I'm saying is that it's funny too, because it's funny only in the sense, well, it's not funny, but it's like I actually knew, in a way, when you do something, that basically they want to stop you from doing it. I knew that when I left a bit of bread there, even though it was dark, like 3 o'clock in the morning when I was doing it, when there should have been no one around, but you still saw, that's right, these people coming up at the back of a dead-end park, pretending with that, android military fake bus depot that's just at the end of the street, with these bus drivers coming and going at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's not realistic at all, but you can't stop them because you can't do anything about it, but they're watching you. Like, I could not find anywhere where the Matrix could not, at a sight or a sound level, infiltrate my mind in this area. I cannot have a moment's peace on my own. Not at all. Not once I go outside this door. And of course, when I'm inside the door, I'm well aware that they can still read your mind. But they actually want you to be more hooked up to the computer. But basically, it's all about controlling your mood, your frequency and vibration, because they understand that affects that's what everything is made up of, and that if they can keep the imbalance their way to where they can keep their technical cyborg reality, their matrix going, which is a control android reality, where they have their gods in the earth. The earth is an earth matrix, and these gods are controlling this earth, literally, at a physical level. And they know that although it's a physical reality, everything is still frequency, vibration and energy. So therefore, if they can control the human mind through controlling my frequency, vibration and energy, in other words, my potential for positive human vibration, my potential for high vibration, that means anything that is happy or positive, because they don't experience that and they can't control you or the reality if that happens. They see that as like, they see that as an attack on them, because they are competitive, controlling beings, and that's how they only function, just as the psychopathic, narcissistic, so-called human does. I would say that it's quite possible that takeover is 100% with the AI transhuman singularity thing, but we're just not aware of it. From my practical purposes, it looks that way to me. But for some reason, they still use the human being until they can no longer extract any life from them. It's like they use, as was told to me, you're a human battery, and they use you until the battery runs out. And that's the only reason you're still living and breathing. But they want to use that battery, but they don't want you to use your own battery. They don't want you to use your own life. They don't want you to affect, they want to use your energy to keep their dead, dark, android, artificial, artificially intelligent, psychopathic system going. And they don't want you to use your energy to raise your frequency and vibration. They don't want you to have a normal, natural, random, potentially high vibrational earth or reality. Because that is alien to them, because they are alien android beings. They're alien in the sense that they came to Earth from the beginning, seduced the original humans, and then took control of their reality and took their so-called paradise from them, you could say. Of course, when you talk about seduction, that's like where you are going along with something but you're unaware of what you're going along with. If you're seduced by someone that is pretending to be something they're not, and you think that being is a friend when they're really a foe, it doesn't matter whether you say you made a mistake or committed a so-called sin. It's just going to happen that you're not going to do very well. You're going to lose. You're going to lose what you had, and you're going to, and this is what happened. And because, that's, human beings are part of creation, and even creation creates and does things, and some things turn out better than others, I would think. This is something that maybe not everyone might acknowledge, because they might say, well, creation is God, it is perfect, it doesn't do it. But of course, it's about the same as the artificial reality that we live in is always experimenting with human beings, always testing and teasing them and playing with them. It's their life, it's their game, it's their matrix. At a personal level and at a environmental, impersonal level, and even at a total worldwide Earth matrix level. It's them playing with human beings. That's their game. That's what they're here for. And we play, as I do, unwittingly in it. We're not always aware, and even when you're aware, you're still playing. They force you to play. If you can't get away from them, which you can't because they're all around, they're everywhere, you're outnumbered, how can you get away from them? You're forced to play. You may not react as strongly as what they want you to, but you're not indifferent. That's why I use the example of the possum. Because if they thought the day before that I wasn't giving out enough negative energy for their, for their machine beings, my battery was trying to, that just simply means my mind and myself was trying to be positive, which I always am. But it's just not possible to actually override all the negative energy. That would have to be a so-called very enlightened human being. And as we're told, there haven't been very many of those because it is very difficult. especially when you have not trained yourself or been aware of that from the day you're born, from when you come here, you know. The longer you're aware of these things, it might give you more time to train yourself before they actually close down on you too. This is another thing. But I lost that other video, so I might finish on the one I did before. Well, I don't know. Because this video is just going to show how a very cute video, or what you would think is an innocent cute video, even though the visuals always did interest me, and it's called Take On Me, which I focused on this video not long ago. But, you know, it just simply shows openly that human beings are interacting with artificial intelligent human beings, but they don't know it and they're intrigued by it. But these beings, they'll be gone in a day or two. That's what that song says. I'll be gone. But they offer you much in the moment. They're about infiltrating your mind in the moment to moment, trying to get you to play in their video game. And that they're often more intense and more attractive and more seductive to a human being for this reason. This has been pointed out, and this video shows it, because, you know, you have this this young girl who's starting to become aware as she gets intrigued by the comic book character. See, she's getting intrigued by the comic book character. See, he's not real, but she's real. But look, and he's enticing her. He's saying, come into my matrix, come into my fake reality. See? And she's like, oh, I'm getting attracted to the unreal. She can see it's not real, but she's still going for it. See how she's being pulled in by the hand? See? And he's got her. Even though he's not real, but now she's in the unreal reality. She's become unreal too, because she's accepting his fake love. Say after me, it's no better to be safe than sorry. Don't be safe, don't be careful. Take a chance on me, take on me, take me on. See, and now he's become real to her, even though he's not real. And he'll be gone in a day or two. I'll be gone in a day or two. But please play with me. I've been playing. I've been seduced. I've been fooled. I've been tricked. And it haunts you, because it's more intense than what's even real. These beings know what they're doing, because they put all their energy into the moment, whether it be through patrolling and negative energy at you, but they can also send the fake positive energy at you. They can mimic being a human being. And this happens. I don't know, have I got this wrong? But I don't know. Needless to say, is it a life or just to play their worries away? You're all the things they've got to remember. They've got to remember everything you say. They've got to imitate everything. They've got to use their memories and their experiences of their interactions with human beings in order to build up a fake profile, you could say, a fake persona, a fake personality that they will then use to seduce and entice some other poor, unfortunate sucker of a human being like we all are, because we need the positive energy. We want the positive interactions. And if they present that to us, how am I to know the difference between what's real and what isn't? And if the unreal, androgynous, androgyne beings are more intense with their, like a great actor on the screen, more intense with what they come onto you. They present what you want to see more intensely. How can you resist that? How can you not believe that it's not true, that it's not real? And if that's a natural need of a human being to experience some sort of positive interaction, this is at the personal matrix I'm talking about, how can you not be seduced, just as Lucifer seduced the original woman that had no reason to be seduced if she already had a perfect partner, perfect mate, a perfect environment? But you know, they are very clever at breaking down your sense, really, and your senses, and it's mind control. It's hard to explain, but it happens to everyone daily. Well, I shouldn't say everyone. I suppose I shouldn't say that, because there may be some that are not as, not as foolish and prone to being seduced by sin, you could say, as some of us are. And it depends on your, I'm making reasons here or whatever, but in your environment, I suppose, they always talk about choice, and there is still choice. And, you may, like the original woman in the fable or the fairy tale, or even a true history, something like it must have happened, probably. You still have the choice. But, the power of seduction by something which is intellectually more superior, in the sense that they are focused on you and have watched you and studied you and patrolled you to such an extent that they know your every want, need and desire, whereas you have not had any access or knowledge of them. And they seduce you with those things, or even just somehow entice you with thinking that it's okay to experience something different even. I don't understand the reasons for why, but I can understand it in a way, but I also don't. But, you would say, why would you be seduced by something that is not like you? But if you think it is like you, this is what I'm saying. Seduction is where you are being seduced. You're being tricked. You think that what you see and what you hear is something that it really isn't. When Lucifer seduced the original so-called Eve, she would not have realised that that being did not have any friendly liking for her, but realising that if she knew what the being really was and what its true intentions were, she would have ran back to her mate very quickly, but instead did not see those negative intentions and thought that perhaps this being was offering her something new, something that might be worthwhile to her. if you know what I mean, like offering the tree of knowledge, the tree of good and evil, which your creator has held back from you because doesn't want you to see this, rather than Eve perhaps should have known but didn't realize that she was being protected from good and evil, or the knowledge of good and evil, because it was not going to make her happy. But it would still be tempting to want to know things that you think have been hidden from you. If something is presented to you in a seductive light to where you think it will benefit you, even though it really won't, but from a realistic standpoint, you'd say, how could knowledge not be a benefit to you? Knowledge is power, they say. Surely it's good to have knowledge. But sometimes it maybe isn't. Maybe you're being protected from knowledge that will bring you down, that will make you unhappy, and therefore will bring a lot of, you can be controlled by knowledge too, can't you? Because if Lucifer offered knowledge, but was offering that knowledge in order to control Eve, to seduce her out of a beneficial environment, away from a beneficial partner, or should have stayed with a normal, natural collaboration, a normal, natural connection, instead of going with artificial, anti-life connection, which is what happens when you are seduced by, an artificial androgynous being that, pretends to offer you something that it can't really deliver. Or if it does deliver it, it will not be what is in benefit of you staying a natural, normal, spiritual human being. You will lose your life, and only it will have the beneficial exchange. This is what we don't realise, or I didn't realise too, but I might just use this song, this cute song, to something, but I don't know. Oh, okay, let's have a look. Miracle of Love, verse 1. Tainted Love, the second one. See, if you connect with a real human being, you'll have a miracle of love. But if you connect with tainted love, with the android beings, you will have tainted love, false love, poisonous love, unhealthy love, fake love. One, you will make things better for yourself. The other, you will make things a lot worse, I would think. These videos are just coming up, so I'm just calling it that way. But, a man without love is basically that. That's a man without love. That's an artificially intelligent, androgynous being. As you can see, its true identity is hidden behind the covering, and it's a duality being. It's controlling human beings through deception and magic, more or less. That's why it's got the moon thing halfway. It's a duality being. It's It's a duality being. It's essentially, in some respects, I suppose you could say it's like total madness, in the sense that it has no stability, no balance. It lives from moment to moment, as the psychopathic types of human beings do, or what we call types of human beings. They're in human form, but they live moment to moment, and they're largely angry machine beings, or angry people even, all the time. They're not at peace, and they endeavour to push that anger onto a human being, which destroys a human being's physical, mental, and emotional, and even spiritual existence. And that's their whole point, because that's how they are. And they resent the fact that human beings do have potential for a positive life, or a positive way of thinking. They see human happiness as a threat. They see it also as sometimes not even real, I'm told. In other words, they think that you're just laughing to make them feel more, because they're competitive and they're controlling. And that's all they are. That's all they think about, is controlling and competing. Nothing else is in their mind or on their way of looking at life, which is very hard to get your head around. You know? Because, that's just hard to get to realise that. But when you see it and you experience it, even then you can be, shall we say, fooled by this type of thing. You know what I mean? Like where you see a human being that looks like a human being. That is the girl entering in to that one's experience. That's when you're interacting with, an android species. And you notice how when she interacts with him, he's become real, because originally they were both like that. I don't know whether I think I might have run out of space. I think I might have run out of space. Oh.